Hello all, I'm Sagarika Bhatta. Today, Deep Green Resistance and Parts of Nepal will be talking about security culture. From Deep Green Resistance South Asia, Salonika will be speaking about security culture, introduction to security culture. Then later I will speak few things regarding security in activism. Then we all shall also talk discuss more about it. So we will only have 40 minutes, less than 40 minutes now. So I think first, Salonika would like to speak about security culture. Over to you, Salonika.
Okay, thank you, Secretary. Okay, so I'm going to introduce about the security culture. So, so first, what is security culture? Security culture is basically a culture. It is formed by a definite set of rules and everything, and that is actually used to minimize the risks that are associated with activism and organizing. And so the basically the major risks that are associated with this can be state surveillance, repression, and persecution. So surveillance is something in which people keep a record of what we do, and uh, for everything, like where we go and what we talk about with each other and everything. And repression can be when um, they stop us from doing something that we would like to do, and persecution would be when they take legal actions against activists. So surveillance, repression, and persecution are all interrelated to each other. So a security culture in a security culture, the activists should know their rights. For example, over here, we have a right for peaceful protests. So we should know that that's not an illegal thing. So we are allowed to do that, and we practice that whenever we think that is necessary. And uh, all the members in the security culture should know that what behavior can be called insecure behavior, and when people do such behaviors, we can educate them that it is insecure behavior, and then within the within our group or organization, we make uh, those behaviors unacceptable. So that is security culture. And why do we need security culture? Is basically that most of us, at least in this group, are we only plan to participate in legal actions, not illegal actions. But even so, we might get persecuted for doing the legal actions. And we also should know that the laws are very much changing. So anything that is legal at one point of time can be illegal in another point of time. So that much we should understand. And when we practice security culture, we can reduce our paranoia. So paranoia is a state when we have excessive suspicion towards others. So like when that happens, we because of paranoia, we will not be able to do anything, any activism related work or any organization related work. So we should work on reducing. Uh, so security culture is a way to reduce paranoia. So for example, if I'm if I have too much suspicion with uh, my co-organizers or with other activists, then that would be a then that would make it difficult for me to work with them. So if we practice security culture, we could get rid of paranoia, and eventually that would make us do some effective actions, and also it would increase our safety within our activist circles and organizations. So that is the basic of security culture, and Sakari Karidi would speak more about it.
Thank you, Salonika. So since Salonika introduced to you all about security culture, so I'd like to talk a few things regarding activism and security. As Salonika said that if we suspect someone in our group, that may be informant to or agent of some government agency or authorities, then what we shall be doing. Suppose we have a group and we are suspecting a person to be informer. Like last time in meeting, if we all remember, I think Salonika and Bidhi was there. We suspected one,
point A,
but later
we don't know. Sometimes we see the
react
impact happening.
regarding the issue.
Maybe-
In such case, there
maybe
might
by
not be
mistake we
enough
say that
evidence to
what
confirm,
is it?
but still
One example
someone
is
is
block, let's say we
someone
block,
might be
which is
this agent or other
negative
opponent
effect
as
of the
well.
cases, which is not
So what we
originated
can
in
do
Nepal,
is
but the
we can
impacts of the flood.
make that person in our very restricted group, label the person as a security risk. Also acting like we are not doing anything outside, but from inner group and within the core group, we can start our investigation. Also, we can isolate such person from sensitive work that we keep within our group, and we talk within our group. And then we shall also move to the highest stage of investigation when we suspect someone in our circle. And if the person turns out to be agent, then we can expose that person if the person is threat. But if the person doesn't seem to be threat to us, then we can still use the person in our work and keeping him or her a little bit aside from the core work. So actually, I'm taking this reference from Deep Green Resistance Handbook, which is very well written for the activists. And the information is quite good for the all core activists, or even the activists like us, like some of us do not like violent actions, or we also might get into such actions someday, but yet we are not yet into the violent actions. But still this security culture handbook will help us to cope and then mitigate in the future. So anyone as activists might have or have not been to next level of activism, but still if anyone like gets arrested, or if we happen to damage something in public in anger, then we can still take reference of this book. As when we all meet, we know that we talk a lot about strategy and theory and tactics. So we often forget that who are within our circles. There might be new person, and we forget that we should not share something that is very private within our group. Like when BD and we all meet, then we start talking so much that we forget the limit of any talk. We just forget what we should be talking and we should not be talking. So this whole thing might be dangerous if there is any suspicious person in our group. So what not to say if if there is someone present in our group who is not the core member of our group. So if we are involved in some sacred group, like we were doing some activism regarding Dilip case, that we must have kept very secretly, but we could not do so. And in same meeting, a guy was recording our video and we suspected, but we did not do anything after that. Or anyone else, if anyone else wishes to join such group, we should not be informing anyone else that this person is trying to involve in this group. Also, we should not be talking about anyone else advocacy and actions with anyone other person. This might also create some dangerous consequences later. So because we often we have practice, like we often talk about our actions with everyone, like whenever we meet a person who is related to environment issues or even social activists, we talk about what we are doing next, even the actions that we should not be talking about with anyone else. we often talk about with anyone we meet, so that things should be limited within our group only. These consequences, we might have not faced the consequences, but later when our movement becomes a little bit wider and huge, these things might bring a huge problem in our groups. So except for exceptional cases, we can talk to our core group and trusted people about any actions and the secrets or any plan we have. We can also, this book has also talked about we should not be discussing our actions and plans of advocacy and or protest that within email chain, and then also like we often do meetings in Zoom, also in Skype. We should not be doing those things online. Also within our core group, we recently have heard that in Philippines, their Zoom, the local group, those who advocate for climate actions, their Zoom meeting was actually being spied. So there are many cases that their meeting gets spied too. So we should also be avoiding talking to media. We should be careful about what we talk to media about our plans. We should be clever enough. We should also be keeping in mind about adopting the measures, like should only allow specific people about our involvement in any actions. Also, even sometimes trustworthy might be tricked by authorities. I'll tell you one example about last year, 27th September 2019, where we protested about no oil drilling in Nepal. Parsif protested in Baneshwar, in Bhavan. Then a person came to me. I was very busy. A person came to me with helmet in his head, and he asked me, "Are you Sagarika Bhatta?" I said, "Yes." "And who are you?" He did not answer me. He said, he just nodded his head and then he went. I did not see that person later. And I suspected that person might be someone who might be the agent of government or some police or something, that they came to ask us about the protest. So this is very important, that what information you give to the unknown person. You must be careful. Sometime the problem comes with that everyone wants to get popular among the circles for activism, which might be threatening later. Popularity also might bring some issues in activism field. People often like gossiping. Even we share with our friends every details. So sharing the information to the friend might also be very dangerous. They might turn indirectly into enemy, because they will know our very special information if we are dealing with some serious actions and plans. So I'll not say everyone, but most of us really like bragging among our friends to, like, I got arrested. Yesterday I was protesting, then police took me, arrested us. That people brag about this, but that might also cause some harm consequences later. That is not good for activists. Direct and indirect bragging is not good. We should know our limits. Knowing about possible consequences of every action is necessary. Some people might not agree upon non-violent actions. Like even our groups are quite actually very against violent actions and all. But if someone in your group actually is so much into violent actions, then you must start restricting the person from the group, because that will create later create whole group into the problem, because violence is not the solution, and that might not be our idea of doing any actions. So in every situation, we need to be careful about checking background of person when someone enters into our group. We also need to be careful because government and secret agencies might keep us in a threat list, which is not true, but they might take it so. Now, since we hardly know that how the agents work, so but this the handbook gave me some information about informers and infiltrations. They have categorized the secret agent into two types: informers and infiltrations. So there are also two kind of informers, as they have mentioned. The two kind of informers are undercover agents and activists turned into informer. So undercover agent might be around us and we may not know. And there are so many people that have turned into informer from activist. We might know ourselves few. So they will try to know about us. And since I shared my experience that person who asked me might also be some agent. Also last time when our group was protesting, all of our groups were protesting about Dilip in Maitikar Mandala, there was a person who was actually informing the whole scenario to someone from phone. So there are many agents that will be looking to us during our protest and actions that government thinks that we are doing against them. So infiltrators are those who try to enter our groups and then start manipulating the members of our groups and also bribe to act against the whole agenda. So there was a British intelligence named Keaton. He wrote a book. He wrote a book on the counter-insurgency model. So what this model talks about is the three phase of any campaigns or movement that we start. He categorized into three phases. One is preparatory phase, where the movement is very small, where they are still educating people and groundwork is being done. And the second is non-violent phase, where we start doing mass actions and large demonstrations like we have been doing. And the third is the insurgency phase. The movement takes very popular and people might get arrested and get some violent actions too. So he says that the agent generally starts working since the first phase. Means they have already been keeping eye on every actions the activists do. Since they keep the eye since the first stage, preparatory phase, in every situation they start planning more bigger than us to actually not let us happen the whole idea what we protest or we act upon. So also this whole idea is to suggest everyone who is into activism that whenever you get arrested or you don't get arrested, or some unknown people comes to talk to you, or police comes and ask you a few questions, it's better not to talk to them and especially not argue with any police. So because and it's very important also to know law regarding what you are doing action upon and what your plans are. Make sure what consequences might happen later. So this is all for today, what I would like to say. Maybe next time, Salonika, and we will discuss more regarding security culture, the next level of understanding. So now we'll open the discussion part. So if anyone has any questions or queries or would like to discuss few things that we told, it's open. Or also would like to share an experience that they have been through. No one? Solanka, do you like to talk about anything?
Okay. So if there are no questions, maybe we could add something more about with the above ground and underground organizations. Is
Yeah.
that okay?
Yeah.
So basically, there are two types of organizations in any kind of activism. So there's the above ground organization and underground organization. So above ground organizations basically take part in only legal activities, and the underground organizations may take part in illegal activities. So one of the basic rules of security culture is that there should be a firewall between the above ground organizations and underground organizations, so that the same person does not participate in both legal and illegal activities. And the main reason for this is that as above ground organizations, people know that we are associated with these causes, right? So if something happens, if something illegal happens, it does not need to be violent, as in it does not need to be violence against any person. So, but let's say if somebody damages a building or something like that, or anything illegal, but that's also non-violent, then even in that cases, the members of the above ground organizations can be called upon. So it does not matter if we agree with the illegal action or not. The government and security agencies might suspect us. So the basic rule uh, for the firewall is that as above ground activists, we should know as little about the underground activities as possible, because if we know more, then we are putting others at risk, because upon questioning we might reveal something that we should not be revealing. So yeah, that's the thing. That's basically about above ground and underground organizing. So any questions regarding that?
Does anyone like to share anything? Albish, Deepesh, Vidhi, Bobita, Tobab, Jill, Sumana?
Hi Dee.
Hi.
मेरो नाम चाहिँ विधि अरूहरूले चिन्नु भएको छैन होला